I'm here to tell you that your whole life can change in a moment. And this is that moment. And this is the word.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to yet another episode of The Word, the Unofficial PREACHER Podcast. I am yet only one of these awesome individuals. My name is Steve.
And ladies and gentlemen of the congregation, I'm the other half. Welcome to the show. My name is Dan Ramirez. We're about to get busy. This is going to be the week, Steve. This is the turning point of season 4. I think we actually got some true excitement coming from us now.
I mean, I texted you and said,
I believe your words were, I'm all in.
Dude, I was shocked, truthfully. I mean, this actually got me a little bit. This actually got me in the feels.
Yeah.
And I knew, the thing is, we both know what happens.
Right.
And it still got us in the field. We got me in the field. So, yes, I'm very excited to talk about this.
Where are your feels located, sir?
Right under my throat and above my chest.
Okay, that's the feels area right there. I have to look that up in the Book of Anatomy. I did not know that place existed.
Yes, it's in the Book of Anatomy.
Anatomy?
Mm-hmm.
In your tummy? Sorry, folks. We're going with dad jokes this week.
You know what I was wondering, speaking of dad jokes?
What's that?
Don't ask me why I thought about this. I was in the shower and I was like, am I ever going to be able to use this guy knows what I'm talking about and actually make people laugh?
This guy knows what I'm talking about.
Am I ever... I don't know if I'll ever be able to pull it off and be like legitimately serious about it. This guy knows, and they all like, ha ha ha.
You want to know what I think, dude? I think it's hilarious that you are a guy that loves bringing back shit from different eras.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a silly fool over old school jokes and old school stuff like that. But I don't want to get on a tangent like that because, Dan, I will go off on a level, and I want to talk about this show. I cannot wait.
All right, sure. Well, then, you know what? Let's just cut all the shit, ladies and gentlemen, and get to the important stuff. You people probably want to know how to get a hold of us. That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling it through these headphones right now. You want to know how to get a hold of us, and I'm going to tell you how to do so right now, all right? So sit tight, and here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Word, the Unofficial PREACHER Podcast. My name is Dan Ramirez. I come here from time to time. I have some information for you. I'll proceed. If you want to get a hold of the show, hit us up at askthewordpodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can reach the show at word_podcast. Reach me, Dan, at DanQPublic, and Steve at SE_HudsonMusic. We invite you to visit our website, www.heroesofnoise.com, and there you're going to find a place where you can leave a voicemail, you can email, subscribe to the show, what have you. While you're there, pick up a t-shirt. Gonna keep this one short and sweet, guys, because we have a lot to cover. I'm excited about this episode. I know Steve is too. So with that, I'm gonna turn it back over to the one, the only, Steve E. Hudson. Take it away, my man.
Yes, people, now you can get a hold of us, and if you do, you might sound like one of these wonderful people that send us an email. Dan, do we have emails?
Oh boy, do we have emails, Steve.
Oh boy.
We've got emails.
Oh boy.
This first one comes from our friend Melissa Sloter, who is the host, I should say the co-host of the Wild Pretty Things podcast. Check that one out, ladies and gentlemen. And like I was just saying, you can go to our page, scroll down, and there it is. It's so accessible, it just makes me sick. You know what I'm saying, Steve?
Yeah.
It's not truly an email, it's a message, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. She says, I have no idea if this is the proper place for this. But since it's y'all, notes on the word. Joseph Gilgan is in a show called Brassic that started airing in August. So filming was probably back-to-back. Now, what she's talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is how I had mentioned a couple of shows ago how I felt that the cast hair change was it wasn't really intentional. It's just that they had to write that in because he was filming something else, and that is exactly what was going on here. He's filming Brassic. Steve, I watched the first episode of that yesterday.
How was it?
It's interesting. It is very British. Very, very British.
Yeah,
but I read a little article, and he says that it's loosely based on his life story. Or like his youth. So there's like a lot of crime in this, right? Mm-hmm. But he doesn't want to admit to what is fake and what is real. But apparently a lot of these things in the show, he's actually done. He's just not going to tell you what's what. It's interesting. I know a guy that I can send it to you because I can't seem to find it anywhere in America except for this magic little portal that I found. But I'll let you check it out. Yeah. Anyway, his hair is the same length as Cass's new hair, but it's not bleached. Also, people often change their hair after experiencing trauma and or going through a period of high emotions / self-discovery. The boy just needed a change after all that foreskinning. And that's it from Melissa. Yeah, I think you're right, Melissa. I think that Maybe they kind of wrote that in without really saying so, but he did have a lot of foreskinning going on. You can't really argue that, right, Steve? I mean,
Yeah.
there was actual cream made from it. And you can't just do that with one foreskin.
Well, what I'll say is if I knew that the show was going to end and this was my last season, whatever job I had going on during said season, I would just be like, look, I have to grow a beard for this show. Since this is ending,
Yeah.
I have another show happening. And I'm not going to be like, wait, got to film that last season. No. He needs to make sure he has something else coming. So I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
I liken it to the Henry Cavill thing, man. The mustache.
Oh, that's true.
There was just more money floating around right there, so they were able to digitize it out. Did they do a good job? No, not really. But they did have to digitize it out. But I think that's exactly, well, actually, I know. That's exactly what's going on. So thank you for that insight, Melissa.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Everybody, listen to her podcast because she rocks and she has the ability to roll. So she does both of them.
Kind of getting into her private information, though, Steve. It's a bit much.
My bad.
Moving along, we have one, Steve. Now, this one is a lengthy one, but don't even go there, Steve. I know what you're thinking.
Oh, bruh. I let it go because I was like,
Let it
he
go.
just set me up.
Let it go like
Set
Frozen,
me
baby.
up.
Don't do it.
I actually haven't heard that song before.
No, I don't believe you.
I'm dead serious.
Guys, this is the shit I deal with on a week-to-week basis. Have you seen The Wizard of Oz, Steve? I am not familiar with that. What is this you tell me about? How about Star Wars? I've never heard of this. Bullshit. Stop this whole fish out of
I'm
water
telling you.
Encino Man bullshit that you're doing.
I've heard kids sing the song. I haven't heard the actual song.
Folks, we know he's full of shit, right? Let's move on.
Oh my God. You kind of have to see the movie to hear the song, and I haven't seen the movie.
There was a point in time, Steve, where you couldn't get away from this damn song. So I don't believe you.
But where would you hear it if you weren't watching the movie?
Fucking everywhere. YouTube, on the internet, little kids in the store, everywhere. This song is heard.
That's what I said. Kids in the store. I've heard kids sing it.
I know
but
what you said.
I do not Google. I don't get on YouTube and be like, you know what I want to listen to? Let It Go. I don't do that. So where would I hear it?
I'm not buying it. I'm just saying.
How would I hear it?
I've been dealing with your fish out of water shit for like 3 years now, and I'm not buying it anymore.
Okay. I bet you there's other people that have not heard Let It Go. So
Dude tried to tell me one time, have you ever heard of Journey? Get the fuck out of here. Have I ever heard
They're
of
really
Journey?
good.
Yeah, they're great, Steve. You should check them out sometime. All right.
I did. Go ahead.
This and more on Heroes of Noise, ladies and gentlemen. Check us out. So this one comes from our old friend Christina. We haven't heard from her for a while, so she wanted to condense this one and bring it hard. So here we go. Hi, Steve and Dan. It's been a while, but I was catching up on your podcast and decided to write in. It's been several episodes, so I will narrow this down to a few things that are keeping me tuned in. Now, before we get into this, as I recall, Steve, Christina does not have a fondness for Jesse Custer.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't bothered to read this one yet. I wanted to keep it fresh, okay, so we could actually talk about it if we needed to. But as I recall, not a fondness for Jesse Custer, and I see her first bullet point says Cassidy and Tulip. So that kind of reinforces what I'm saying. Here we go. Number 1, Cassidy and Tulip. As far as I'm concerned, they are the foundation that continues to make this show have any sense of heart. Watching Ruth Negga and Joe Gilgan overcome their own insecurities and continue to be fun and capable in the face of adversity is a real treat. The silent conversation in Search and Rescue was my favorite part of the series thus far. Do you recall what she's talking about, sir?
I do not remember that.
She's referring to the elevator scene.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. A little flirty going on, little I like you more than I should.
Because I like that scene too.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So good you remembered it. I'm sorry. I'm being mean to you today, and I don't know why.
You are kind of for no reason.
I know. I apologize. I'm feeling feisty, man. I got rest last night. Cass has a gun. You know what? I probably should have just waited because she actually explains everything right here. Cass has a gun to his head and isn't even fazed because his girl came for him. So he starts flirting and stunting like a badass, and I loved it. When he asked, now why would she do that in the Scottish brogue, my panties dropped. Whoa! Christina.
Whoa. Easy on the too much information.
She's letting it all out right now, literally. Or at least she was when she wrote this. Tulip equally in danger, flirting back with her eyes and body language. You know what? At that point, my panties dropped, Christine. I'm just letting you know.
There we go.
I don't really wear panties, ladies and gentlemen. I'm more of a boxer brief guy. It keeps things snug. But anyway, you get the point. Yeah, those dropped to the floor. Almost as poignant as their actual reunion in Bleak City, where the camera does that wonderful shot of Ruth Negga's smile and mouth. I totally get what she's talking about. I understand where you're coming from, Christina. They truly deserve a happy ending in Bimini. I hope it's Jesse that sacrifices himself for them to have a future because he's a stain I want nowhere near them come final moments. I got a feeling, Christina, you're going to be disappointed.
Call it a hunch. Call it a hunch.
Yeah, call me kooky. I think you're going to be disappointed.
I don't know if one of them is going to make it all the way through a certain thing as themselves anyway.
I'm so excited about these next 4 episodes. If they do that, though, then let's talk about that real quick. You're referring to Cassidy, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, folks, in the comic, Cassidy turns into the douchebag of douchebags right around this time. Now, obviously, like we say every week, the comic and the show are completely separate, but they are touching on certain things, okay? So what we saw this last episode that takes place at the Last Apostle National Park actually takes place in Monument Valley. Monument Valley is what I'm trying to say. So there are some similarities going on. But what happens after that is kind of a long part of the comic, and I don't really see how they can fit this in with 4 episodes, so they might touch on that a little bit. But just so you know, if you read the comic, spoilers, Cassie becomes the douchebag of douchebags.
Oh, yes.
Everyone's just so brokenhearted right now. All the Gilligan fans are like, what? They're clutching their pearls, Steve.
I think they're we should call them the girls on Gilligan Island.
Just sit. No, I'm just kidding. Gilligan's Island, ladies and gentlemen, that is a word podcast hit of the week. You haven't checked that shit out. It's Gilligan, the skipper too, a millionaire and his wife, a movie star, the professor, and Marianne, and they're all there on Gilligan's Island. All right, I'm going to go ahead and continue. I am so over Jesse Custer, it cannot be stated emphatically enough. The man is the epitome of hubris. I don't believe in God. Believe in me. Okay, but he's dead, so maybe you should be so full of yourself. I think she meant should. I think she meant shouldn't, but we'll move along. And who told you just now to rescue Eugene? It's like he wants to write any narrative that makes him the hero. And it's a them for 3 years that have to put him in my... Oh, you know what? I think she meant it's them. But I like this because she sounds Italian. She says, it's a them for 3 years that have put him on my last nerves. I honestly won't care. She hates me right now. I honestly won't care what happens to him, or Hitler, who sadly is still around, or Hairstar.
I agree with that. I agree with the Hitler thing. Why is he anyway?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, let's just say it right now. This whole Hitler thing, I'm going to say it. It's the end of the series. Who cares? This whole Hitler thing was completely pointless. Completely pointless.
Less.
Whoever's idea that was, fuck you, because I did not like it at all.
Garbage.
It's been a massive waste of time. Or Hairstar, who is the closest to having this comic arc being a laughingstock, but he's become mopey more than anything else with God to get revenge on Jesse.
I don't like Hairstar's story. I don't like how he's acting around God at all.
He's all giddy, like he's going to get a treat.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
I see what you're talking about completely, but I don't really mind it that much because I like the comical sense and the fact that they've taken Hairstar's quest for vanity. Like, that's a big thing with him. It's always been a big thing, is his vanity. And they're just making it a little bit comedic, and I don't really mind it.
Okay.
Particularly on this episode. There's a scene with that involves a little bit of in excess that I actually found pretty funny. The writing has been inconsistent, and this push towards an end feels sloppy, I'm sorry to say. You know what, Christina? I'm not going to lie to you. I do agree with you on that. I do believe that this season has been very chaotic. I think that some of the writing has been rushed. That said, I think that episode 6 kind of locked me into where I'm down to just finish this up, and I'm actually excited to see what happens. But I do agree with you that it has been kind of chaotic and sloppy. I have my theories, but I'm not going to say it in this email. She goes on to say, if Jesus is around, what was the point of Humperdoo? It becomes a gag more than a script, which sometimes is enjoyable and other times it's not. Again, I totally agree with you. Like, they should have wrapped up this whole Humperdoo thing a long time ago.
Oh, dude, listen. When they all got away, they should have been like, okay, it's done.
I have no idea what they're doing, but I agree with you. Humperdoo should have been gone a long time ago. Why is the saint still trying to get to heaven by killing more innocent people just because he got a piece of Jesse's soul? You had 2 perfectly good angels in Fior and DeBlanc to be Genesis' parent, but you decide to give that to another angel and demon in the last act. Well, Christina, if I'm reading this correctly, you're saying that Fior and DeBlanc should have been Genesis' parents, but the fact of the matter is the angel and the demon are Genesis' parents. And really, in the comic, they were nothing more than custodians that were tending to the cell that housed Genesis, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yes.
I don't know. Agree to disagree on this one, but I do believe that they are factual when they say that the angel and demon are the parents.
Also, I get Saint, because if they killed my family like that, nothing's stopping me.
Right.
I am tearing the whole earth down.
Yes, sir.
To get back to him.
And this was his number one mission the entire time in the comic, was getting to God.
And knowing that God was like, yeah, I chose to do that to your family. He's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
It wasn't God that chose, but he's like, kind of, Satan did it on God's demand. Like, look, I had to do it. to make you this. Yeah, I had to do that.
They've put a lot of bullshit in between in the series, but I think the story's pretty accurate so far. As far as what the Saint's trying to do, I think that he's pretty much on point.
Oh, dude, if I came back to my family like that, dude, listen. And you gave me those pistols?
I'm writing somebody a very strong letter. That's all I'm saying.
Very sure. Oh, for sure. And I'm also, it's one of those, I'm not going to just be like, maybe I should just get over it one day.
Get over it. It's your family.
Not a chance. But yeah, so yeah, I'm still on Saint and Killer's side on this one.
Me too. Third topic. Question. How many plane crashes are we going to have to see? Because Jesse is across from Cash per trailers drinking, and Jesse falls from a plane and seemingly dies, but comes back losing an eye. This time jump is odd because I swear if they tease a Cass/Tulip endgame and it's BS, I will be writing some very negative tweets. I think you're going to be writing some negative tweets, Christina. I'm just being honest with you because, again, this is all sort of part of the story. What do you think, Steve?
Also, they have to do the time jump because between this and the end of the actual comic, that's another season. So they're going to have to dip.
And I think that this whole losing the eye thing, oh God, Steve. I mean, we'll get to it when we start doing the breakdown, but I really hope they do it like they did in the book.
They need to.
There's a lot of things that I've been cool with, like, oh, okay, I see that you're giving me a little nod to what happened, but this has to happen this way. And from this last episode, it's totally possible.
From what I've seen him do now,
right,
I can totally see him doing that.
Yes, sir.
I finally was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe he will.
God is no joke in this one.
Yeah, he might do some shenanigans.
I got to tell you, this was the best representation of Preacher's version of God that I've seen in the series so far.
Sure.
I don't give a shit about all that dog suit stuff or the weird creatures in the trailer or anything. When God gets busy at the end of this episode, that's what I'm talking about.
For sure.
So Christina says, keep up all the great work. I'll check back in sometime around the finale. Christina. Hey, Christina, thank you very much. It's good to hear from you.
Yes, good to hear from you, and look forward to your email.
I could feel that a little bit. My lips are tired now. Got a long way to go still. Got a lot to talk about.
Oh, you do.
I do, man. All right, brother. You ready to have some fun?
Yes!
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the breakdown of Season 4, Episode 6, The Lost Apostle. We're about to begin right now, and here we go. Now, I really want to talk about this part, Steve, because I want to know what you think. So, we get this cold open, right? And it's in the biblical times, as I put it. And there's a woman saying, he's my son, too. I did not know, Steve, that in biblical times, they all talk like they're from New York.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, get back in the kitchen and so help me. And she's like, or what? You'll hit me again? He's like, oh, please, I squeezed your arm. Oh, the man tells his son, there's times in a man's life where we got to do things, and this is one of them. The man's wife continues to cry. By the way, her name is Sarah. Yeah, I read a little bit of Bible, but not much. Am I right, Steve?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Dude, let me first tell you,
yeah,
the way they break down this story, okay, I don't care how religious you are. You have to be like, yeah, that is weird. Because this is accurate.
Yeah.
Accurate.
This is accurate. DJ Khaled, everyone. It is not a word, the Unofficial Preacher Podcast recommendation.
Accurate. I loved it, dude. And it's such a good representation. I see what Rogan and them are doing. Seth Rogen, he's like, let me just show you how crazy this story that actually is in there is.
So Abraham's boy asks his mom if she's sad, and Abraham tells his son that she'll be all right, that the suffering is a part of life, and nothing in this world is free. So he's pointing to the house, and he's like, I mean, you think all of this don't come with a price? That's what she said. Oh, Steve, you know what I'm saying?
It's not too far off.
Right? I loved it, man.
It really isn't. This was a very hit and miss for whoever did it. They knew a small section of the already small audience is going to love this. And they really targeted me.
So you're saying they knocked it out of the park?
Oh, dude. I was like, I know some people are watching this like, what the heck? This is boring. And why does he have a New York accent? And it just, for some reason, for me, I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
Steve says, why not have the New York accent?
Oh, for sure. I could watch a whole biblical series like this.
I would have liked them all to talk like this for the whole entire episode, but
that would have been hilarious.
What are you going to do? So Isaac agrees with him, and Abraham says, smart boy, you take after your mom. Abraham takes out a knife and makes to sacrifice his son. His son's laying across this rock, right? He's going to kill his son, right, for God. Mm-hmm. But just then we hear God yell, Stay your hand, Abraham. So Abe tells God that I was going to sacrifice my boy. I was going to do it for you. And God says, indeed you were, my child. It was a test. You passed. And then Abraham kneels down at God's feet. He tells him, I love you so much.
So stupid.
It is ridiculous and brilliant all in the same sentence.
So good. So good.
Abraham begins to weep, right? And as God's comforting Abraham, you see these horizontal lines that show up on the screen. Remember those horizontal lines, Steve, on the old televisions?
I do.
What was it called? It's like horizontal resolution. It was right there and I can't remember it. But I remember that my parents' television did this shit all the time. And I always had to go, even at like age 7, I'm like, what is this bullshit? And I had to fix the television.
Yeah, for me, it was just doing that little round thing around the knob that moves freely and trying to slowly move it until you get good resolution.
Yeah, you have to really dial it in.
Yes.
Kind of miss the old days like that. That was a little fun thing for me. It was a challenge every time. But you know what? You guys don't give a shit about that. Let's move on. So these horizontal lines, we find out, are actually coming from a videotape that's being rewound over and over and over again back to where Abraham says, I love you so much. And we find out that God's the one that's doing this. So what it is that God's sitting in his workshop, we'll call it for now, and he's just going back and forth and rewinding. And I guess he's reliving his salad days, maybe to a better time when people actually respected him. Not entirely sure what that is, but...
That is totally what it is, because the Bible says that he's a jealous God. And so since it says he's a jealous God, he doesn't like the fact that people love other things more than him. And so he's reliving a time where he was like, oh, these people will do anything for me that I say. The most crazy things, they'll do it. Knowing nowadays, not a chance.
So it's like Axl Rose watching old Guns N' Roses videos of him in concert.
Oh, for sure. When he looked like a normal human being.
When he looked like a normal human being. Axl, you're weird, man. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Wow.
You know what? I know the guy's probably just having a good day somewhere, and now he just got a little ache in his side. Like, what is that? I'm sorry, Axl. I gave you voodoo pains.
Actually, I do like Axl Rose. He actually turned out to be, on the right side of a lot of things. So why am I even saying stuff like that?
I don't know, Steve. Why are you saying stuff like that?
Love you, Axl. Is that his real name? They're way they named him Axl. Anyway.
You know, at one time, this has nothing to do with the show, but I remember I was flying back from Hawaii, right?
Of course you were.
This was a long time ago. This is when Guns N' Roses was popular. And we were taking the red-eye flight, and there's this lady, and she's drunk as shit right behind me. She's got this little kid, probably around 2, that's crying and screaming. It was a very long flight. But I remember listening to her, and she's like, as we were flying into Los Angeles, she's like, you see those lights, Axl? Her son's name was Axl. You see those lights, Axl? Oh, I know. It was great.
Axl.
She goes, look at the city lights. You know, we're flying right over Los Angeles. She says, that's going to be all yours one day, Axl. You're going to fuck shit up.
Oh, yeah.
She told her 2-year-old kid, you're going to fuck shit up. True story.
Oh, my God. You know what, though? I'd rather her have that conversation with the kid instead of being like, you're going to do this, and this, and live life the exact. She's like, hey, go out there and have a ball.
No, I hear you. I appreciate the encouragement, but it's just that
Axl,
it was all,
though,
this was done after her like 9th margarita. You know what I mean? She was hammered. Poor kid. Poor Axl. But you know what? I wonder what Axl's doing these days anyway. You know what? Anyway, let's move on. So God's in his workshop. Okay. That's what I'm calling it for now. And he goes to this table, the table that he has with all the models. And
affirmative.
Yeah, he goes to it's like the Jesse Custer story that's laid out, like the Jesse Custer, the board game or something. And we hear those weird animal sounds again that are coming from these various covered cages. What are your thoughts on this? Are we going to get some resolution?
I don't know. I think you're supposed to, as time goes, maybe they're going to show the table a bunch of different times, and you're supposed to actually pay attention to what's changing. I'm thinking. What do you think?
I'm thinking I'm going to be a little pissed if they don't show us what these things are. Now, in just a second, I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. There is a clue here, but if they don't show these, whatever they are, I'm going to be a little bit upset because they've spent a lot of time on it. Again, like there are things in this series where they spend time on it and it goes nowhere. If this is one of them, I'm not sure, but I think we might get some resolution.
I don't think that's going to be, yeah, I think we're going to get something.
Because it pops up several times in this episode alone. God picks up his phone, which is one of those old school phones, those ones like you used to have back in the, like, I think it was like late 80s, where you're carrying it around in a bag and shit, and you're calling your buddy like, hey, guess where I'm calling you from? And he gives Harry Star a call, and he asks Star if he's ready. Star says, phase 2. And God says, let's stir up a hornet's nest, shall we? See who gets stung. Star says, excellent metaphor, my lord. And pauses for a second, right? And he goes, is that the guinea pig, my lord? And God quickly goes, no. So, like I said, now they're calling it a guinea pig. I don't know what's happening here, man, but I do think we are going to get some resolution to this.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know what it is, but now that they're saying guinea pig, this tells me that they are going to close this out at some point. So God asks Star, how's my boy? And Star tells him he's holding his own and that he's a tough negotiator, meaning Hitler. God tells him he means Humperdoo, of course, and Star says, oh yeah, he's doing well, I put him on the phone for you, but he's not around because he's getting his feet waxed. So he's really reaching at this point. And there's like this long pause from God, and then Star breaks the silence and asks God when they're going to meet. And God tells him that he's going to get back to him on that, and he hangs up before Star even realizes what's going on. So while this is all happening right in front of Star, we have Jesus and Hitler who continue this apocalyptic negotiation. And Star makes another call, right? And he says, initiate phase 2, escalate. What's escalate, you wonder? Well, I think we're about to find out, because we find ourselves outside of this large estate where we see sheep roaming freely in the front yard, and New Zealand flashes across the screen. And this tells us, Steve, that we're in New Zealand. It also tells us that it is the residence of the former prime minister. Remember him?
Oh, yes.
So this black SUV pulls up. I think it's an Escalade. And one of the two bodyguards that are standing outside goes, bloody Aussies, bruh. And the guards ready their guns as the Escalade rolls up and slowly rolls down the window. Now, the person inside the window, I love this part because he throws up like the middle finger, like the I don't know if it's the British version or I don't want to say European or Australian. It's the other side of the pawns version of giving the finger, which is the two fingers.
Yes.
And I love it. I actually prefer that one over it.
I've never seen that before.
Oh, really? Again, Steve, I don't believe you.
I've never seen that before.
Where are you hanging out, bro?
Gee, where have you seen that?
Like, no one gives a shit about this, but I think the first time I saw it was Metallica was doing it in one of their pictures. And I'm like, what is that? So I researched it, and that's what it was. And then it was everywhere. And also, Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols did it. Lots of people did it, Steve. It's been around for a long time, very long time. It's not a new thing.
If Sid Vicious and Metallica did it, I totally should know.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's not freaking...
if Pac would have done it, I would have known.
You know what? I think you're a racist. But let's move along. So they give him the FU sign, and the SUV speeds off but then it turns around, right? And it heads straight for them, and the guards start open firing. And then this crate that we saw in a couple episodes ago, containing the remains of the prime minister, falls out of the SUV, and the guards quickly open it up, which was very surprising because if I recall, they really secured that thing because it had to take the blast of a grenade. So
sure did.
It's one of those just go with it kind of things.
Also, no way someone's just going to open a random crate from a random thing that you just open fire on. They would be like, get away from that box. It might have a bomb in it.
Yeah. Have these people never heard of getting like anthrax in the mail or anything like that?
Like, what are they just going to open the box?
First of all, think about that. This black SUV aggressively shows up, throws them the equivalent of the middle finger.
Yes.
Almost runs them over and then drops a box out. And they run to it like it's Christmas time.
Yep.
And what they find are the remains of the prime minister, right? How they knew this, I'm not entirely sure, unless there was that sash that he was wearing. There was a sash that said New Zealand. Okay, cool. All right. But yeah, because it was basically like the equivalent of roadkill in there.
Oh, it was a great scene. I thought they did a really good job on that.
So once they find out that it's the prime minister, as I like to put it, shit is on. We cut to God, who's looking at this map of the apocalypse, right? And he picks up a small model of this atomic bomb, which very much excited me. He puts this little radioactive sticker on it, and I just got all giddy and shit. And that is the intro, ladies and gentlemen.
I just realized something.
What's that?
Them doing that flipping off sign would make them think that it was Australia that killed the prime minister.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the emblem for Australia was on the side of the Escalade.
I didn't know that. But if I would have known the flipping off, I would have been like, oh.
Oh, that might be, they do that there too?
Yes. Oh.
I think that they actually mentioned that before because he goes, bloody Aussies, bro. So that as they saw them coming up, they must have seen the emblem on the car.
Yeah, I did not catch that. Oh, they want a fight between, like this just dawned on me because I caught it at the end, but I didn't know that they set it up from the beginning. That's pretty smart. I like the episode even more now.
When we get back from commercial, we see Tulip Chauvel speeding through the streets of Melbourne. And I do have a confirmation now from someone, and I'm so sorry, I'm trying to find your message to me, and I can't find it right now. But someone from Australia wrote in, and essentially it said, you guys don't know a lot about Australia, do you? And which I, of course, said, no, but it wasn't like in a condescending way. What he was saying was, and I'm so sorry, man, I can't find your message right now. He was just saying, like, if you need any insight on Australia, please let me know.
Yeah.
Did you read that?
Yes, I can find. I know where it is.
Please do.
I know exactly where
Because
it
if
is.
someone's going to take the time to write in, I really feel like we should give them the props. And I just can't find it I'm looking on my phone, and I don't know what the hell's going on, but I can't find it. Well, as you're looking for that, Steve, I'm going to keep on going, and then we'll come back to it, okay? Because again, someone takes the time to write into us, I feel like we should give them their props. So
Yes.
their car's speeding through the streets of Melbourne. But my point is that he said that Melbourne is the actual pronunciation. We were going back and forth between Melbourne, or I should say, Melbourne. It is in fact Melbourne. And he also told us that he is willing to, like, if we ever want to go to Australia, Steve, we got a friend out there. How's that?
Stop.
I swear.
It. Stop it.
I'm telling you, that's why I feel bad. Please find the message and I'll continue, okay?
Okay.
So they're jamming through the streets, and it sounds like old streets of San Francisco shit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're either not from America or you're young. But there's all this groovy 70s music, and it's complete with a gate crash and this car launching from hilltops, and you get the deal. 70s style cop show kind of stuff is what's going on.
Got it.
You got it? Do you? Okay, go for it.
Got it. I'm listening. Okay, this is from Steven. I don't want to give you the whole name. We're going to say Steven. Just listening to the show, I can tell you guys don't know much about Australia. It's nothing on you guys. We figure most Americans think that Australia is Britain light. It's funny. I'm actually quite pleased that they chose Australia for the final season, although they could have hired more Aussie actors instead of getting Brits to do bad Aussie accents. That's the same thing Johnny Buck said.
Why do they do that?
I'm not
and
sure.
Come to think of it, they should just hire more Australians for everything, because Australians do better Americans sometimes than Americans do.
I will disagree, but I feel you.
What about homie from Walking Dead? What's his name? Andrew Lincoln. He's from Australia, isn't he?
Yeah, but that's not a good accent. It's not a good accent at all, Jay.
He was the first person that I thought of, but I'm saying,
okay.
What about Nicole Kidman?
I mean, she's fine.
She's a national treasure, Steve.
Is she a national treasure?
No, but I'm just trying to,
I'm trying to figure out what are these amazing actors from. Maybe are you saying we should give them more of a shot?
I'm saying that maybe we should come back to this at some point, but I think there are a lot of Australian actors out there that
Where are the Hemsworths from?
I think the Hemsworths are from Australia. Are you hating on Chris Hemsworth right now, bro?
No, but I'm just like, we don't know enough at all. I think they are.
Yeah, maybe we should just quit while we're ahead.
All right, anyway. Oh, first tip I can give you guys. Melbourne is pronounced Melbourne instead of Melbourne. The thing I just said accidentally.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Americans. I'm Steve, and he's Dan. Wait, it's backwards. See, I told you we're dumb.
Melbourne. So it's Melbourne.
Melbourne.
I can't do it. And if you guys ever do happen to find yourselves in Screams Internally, the land down under, hit me up. I would chill with Stefan.
He looks cool as shit, too. You see a picture of him? He's my kind of people.
Here's the thing. He's the guy that I feel comfortable walking around Australia with.
He looks like he plays drums.
Does he?
I think so.
I think he looks like he plays
or he's like a bass. He looks like the
rugby.
I think he looks like he could be the new bass player for Lamb of God.
Well, for 3 people that know who you're talking about.
Again, Steve, you're living under a rock. Please stop it. You're embarrassing yourself.
3 people that know what Lamb of God is.
We know what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just move on. I don't know why he plays this facade.
I only know one Lamb of God, and he was crucified on our behalf years ago.
Do you believe that, Steve?
So, yeah, he looks like he could play some rugby.
Yeah. Welcome to Atheists Are Us. Starring Steve Hudson.
You goofball. But Stefan, I'm not going to say the rest of your name because I don't want people to know who you are because you're a mystery to all. Thank you very much for your email, and we will definitely be hitting you up if we get into Melbourne.
Yes, back to Melbourne. Cass and Tulip pull up and they head in. They knocked over a road sign. They do not come in subtly, right? I would say they came in hot. They go into this precinct. Cass has the umbrella because, and by the way, folks, I'd like to give myself a little pat on the back. I finally gave up the whole natural sunlight thing. It's a direct sunlight thing. I'm so sorry I wasted so much time about Cass over the last few seasons, but we're going with it now, okay? I'm up to speed. But they both look like badasses when they walk in, right? There's like slow motion going on, and they still got that 70s music.
Yep.
They enter the precinct, and this is what happens.
G'day there.
Who's in charge?
The commissioner. Well, we want a word with this commissioner.
Let your put your bloody head in. Commissioner's heaps busy. What do you think, this is bloody bush week? Besides, there's protocols to follow for all serious intercourse with coppers. You need to fill out an MC, code ACIC, then you come back in the server and see about important matter.
We want to talk to your commissioner.
Didn't you hear what I just said? You can't, it's just
Oh, we can, Missy.
And who the hell are you?
We're the Americans.
So what'd you think of that whole American accent thing from Gilgan? It kind of goes in and out, wouldn't you say?
I thought it was fine. I thought he did a good job, especially considering I think it was just a shock because I'd never heard him do that. I was like, oh, that was impressive.
I'm going to have to look, like, again, he's got the show Brassic that's out right now. So if you're overseas, I'm sure that's readily available. It's a little harder for us to get. But again, getting back to that first episode, it seems like it's going to be a very interesting ride. And I'm very curious to see what Joseph Gilgan does after this, because he wowed us so much in this series. He's obviously got chops. So I'm really curious to see what he offers, you know?
Likewise.
What about the police officers? Do you think that was a real accent?
If it was, I wouldn't be surprised, but in my brain, it seemed like they were overdoing it, but it might just be how they talk. I don't know. I don't watch it. Do you watch a lot of shows from New Zealand or Australia?
It's all I watch, Steve, actually. It's
Okay,
pretty much
perfect.
all I've watched for the last 3 years.
Okay, well then never mind.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it after the show. But no, seriously,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm curious. Write in, please. Someone write in and let us know. Were the police officers doing a proper accent? Were they the real deal? I'm just curious. I want to know. So we cut to Tulip and Cass, and they're talking to the police chief, who's telling them that the man they're looking for is dead. And they actually have the killer in custody. And they're both like, what killer? The killer that they're referring to is none other than Eugene, who's sitting in this interrogation room in handcuffs. And Eugene tells Tulip, he's dead. I shot him. And Tulip calls BS, of course, and says that he wouldn't hurt a fly. Eugene tells her, you don't know what people do. I learned that much. And Cass talks to the police officer who's standing, like they're behind the what do they call that? The two-sided glass, the two-sided mirror, if you will. They're standing behind that. And Cass is talking to this officer. And the officer's like, he's one ugly Bruce. Cass tells him that he may have a face like an ass, but he's a really sweet kid. And the officer explains that they found blood on his clothes, powder burns on his hands, and the weapon that he used. They actually got a confession. Cass tells him that they haven't found the body yet, and the officer goes on to say that he has his money on them finding the man that they're looking for in that arse-faced bastard stool. It's calling him a cannibal, Steve. It's a little harsh.
Yes. I love what Cassidy says about Eugene in this episode. It really is. It's enlightening about what he thinks about him. I don't know why that got me. Like, I thought Cassidy was just going to be like a silly Cassidy. And there was no joke in Cassidy at that point. He was just baffled. He's just like, huh. He's like, actually, no, he's just a good kid. This is shocking.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, there probably was a little bit of truth to that. Upon viewing the first time, I just took it like he was doing a bit and he was trying to put that drama into it, you know, just to play the part of the Americans kind of thing. But no, I think you have a point. I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah, because he was kind of just like, the guy's like, how? And he's like, no, other than how he looks, he's actually a really sweet kid. And that's why he's wondering, like, there's no way he did this. Like, or if he did, what the crap?
Right.
What did we miss? Because he would never have done this.
And Tulip feels exactly the same way because she's telling Eugene, she's like, you may have shot him, but he's not dead.
Yes, exactly. Be like, you wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't.
She tells him, like, you know, when Jesse's dead, I'm going to know it.
Yeah.
Something like that. So Eugene's got tears in his eyes, you know, and he tells Tulip that he hopes that's not the case because if he's still alive, he's worse off. And then this really, this really infuriates Tulip. And she's like, Eugene, where is he? And then we cut to Jesse, who's been tied down. I think he's been tied down. At least I think he's tied down. But he's screaming his ass off. And the Santa Killers is doing something that I didn't really expect him to do. He's actually removing the bullet that Eugene put in his shoulder from the last episode. I think he even did like a knife turn kind of thing. You probably have to. I have never taken a bullet out of anyone's chest before. But, you know, it seems like he did a pretty decent job. Jesse's screaming his ass off. And he's telling him, you got a gentle touch there, Doc. What's next? A sponge bath? And then Saint of Killers does this thing that he's only done on the series, but I'm not really opposed to it. He uses that heat breath again, and he gets the tip of his knife, like super red hot, and he cauterizes Jesse's wound.
He just needs him alive. Otherwise, he'd let him die.
Right.
We had no question. And also, okay, I'm about to say something very controversial because I love this episode.
Do it.
I think Jesse overdoes the Jesse thing in this episode. Like, good touch there, Doc. Kind of hurts a little. I'm like, okay, everything he says is like tough.
Okay, tough
in this
guy,
episode.
that kind of thing.
Yes. Everything is like Santa Killers is like, I'm going to shoot you. Well, then go ahead. Hope you don't miss. I'm not worried. Light a cigarette. I'm like, okay, stop it.
But
we get it.
No, but
he should be scared a little.
But I mean, if you recall the comic, Jesse talks a lot of shit to the Saint.
He does, but he knows the power of the Saint, and he tries to avoid him at all costs. There's times in the comic where he's just like, look, you have to do what you got to do, but I'm not. He wasn't like this.
So you're saying that Dominic Cooper laid it on a little thick?
A tad bit thick, but it wasn't Dominic Cooper doing it.
Well, it literally was Dominic Cooper doing it, though.
Well, he didn't. He did it because the writers and the director had him do it. I think they had him lay it on a little thick because it was so overly done that it seemed, especially in light of how he gets away.
Yeah.
It seemed so over the top that I'm just like, well, shoot. Of course this happens at the end. He's acting now like he knew that was going to happen then.
I like that of all the things that have occurred over the last 3 years with this show, you're like, you know what? It really offends me how Jesse's talking on this episode.
Seriously, it's like...
That's what's over the top is what I'm getting.
Because he doesn't know he's going to get away. He shouldn't know. He really shouldn't. Now, he does, but he acts as if he knows he's going to get away at the end.
I will say this, bro. There are a couple things that happen in this episode where I'm like, how did Jesse know that?
Oh, dude.
Particularly towards the end. I'm not going to go there yet. So after the Saint cauterizes his wound, Jesse passes out from the pain, falls to the ground, and Santa Killers looks up at the tree that they're standing under. I'm not sure if they did that because it reminds him of rat water or something. For a quick second, I thought maybe he's thinking about hanging him, but we definitely learned that that's not the case. The reason that I thought that is we never know where this show is going to like veer off from the comic. Obviously, I didn't think Jesse was going to get hanged, but I don't know. It just reminded me of like a rat water thing. So it's now morning, and the Santa Killers is kicking it, right?
He's kicking it.
Yeah, fucked up.
Just kicking it, chilling.
Just chilling, eating a sandwich.
Yeah, no biggie.
What I meant to say is that it's now morning, and Santa Killers is... God damn you, Steve.
Just kicking it.
Now I got to be like Stella and trying to get my groove back. God damn you. It's now morning, and Santa Killers kicks Jesse awake and tells him, burning daylight. And Jesse says, I was thinking of sleeping in. Is this what you're talking about, Steve?
Oh, dude, it's just over and over, dog.
I didn't mind it as much as you, but I'm enjoying the fact that you're highly annoyed by this.
Isn't it annoying though, dude? When has he ever been like this?
Like I said, pretty much through the comic. It's just that I think that the way Dominic's delivery is, I think that's what it is. I think Dominic's delivery is actually kind of it's pissing you off a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
But he talked that way. He was cocky to the Saint in the comic. So I think it's just a little bit of Dominic Cooper's overplaying it. But there is a lot of it. Pretty much the entire time, except for the end. So once Jesse's done talking shit, the Santa Killers picks him up to get him up on his feet, and Jesse tries to use the word on him. He's like, drop your weapons and get on your feet.
And he was like, just checking.
Yeah, I'm just checking out. Just seeing if it works.
I can't hate on that.
No, I liked it. So the Saint starts to walk away, and Jesse asks where they're going. And then this is the part I loved. He says, to kill God.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Have you noticed how similar God's voice and the word's voice is?
Yes, very much so.
It's so great how they're doing that. I mean, they're making it closer and closer. It's like, wow. Now it's almost exactly.
Well, like Jesse, of course, because Jesse does it with intention.
Mm-hmm.
God's voice is kind of like coming in and out. Do you notice that? Like sometimes it's like that and other times it's not. But mostly it's like that when he starts getting pissed off.
Yes, like to this time he did it. And I was like, oh, that is what Jesse has.
Yeah. God's doing that whole wrath of God thing, in which he's going to display in just a little bit.
And he doesn't need it, though. That's the difference between Jesse and God. He doesn't need to use that to get things to do what he wants them to do.
Right.
Which is dope. There's a scene coming up that is so freaking good and shows how dope God is that I was like, oh, Jesse might have his hands full. And the Saint might have their hands full. I've read the comic. I get it. I know how it ends. However, taking the comic away, Saint of Killers and Preacher and Jesse might have their hands full more than they think.
I like that people are listening to the show on their radio. What station are we?
I mean, it's still a radio.
Is it though, really?
Affirmative.
Okay.
Because you can every radio you have, every car tuner you have has a radio option, turning it into you can tune. Now, mind you, I think that's archaic. Why do they still have that?
Right. The properties of radio, you're working with radio frequency, you're tuning into a certain frequency, and there's your radio station. Whereas here, they're just hitting play.
Yeah, but you do it on a radio, though.
I'm nitpicking you just to fuck with you. You know this, right?
I know. That is weird, though, isn't it? Like, when you really think about it, like, it's almost like me calling my computer a Microsoft Word. Be like, yeah, that's only one of the things it does. It has a radio, a CD player, an MP3 player, and other things. You're just calling it one of its active parts. It has a radio tuner. Why do we call it a radio?
I think you're pro Marconi. You just are a fan of the man that created it, you know?
I did not know. Look at how smart you are.
It's a history lesson we'll talk about some other time, Steve.
Look at how smart you are.
Well, really, it just comes from Jefferson Starship's We Built the City on Rock and Roll. That was my first experience because, you know, Marconi plays the Mamba. Listen to the radio. Don't you remember? We Built the City on Rock and Roll.
I do remember that song. I did not know the lyrics.
That's the song you remember.
Of course I do.
Steve Hudson, ladies and gentlemen.
And also, Here I Am, the one that you love.
That's Air Supply.
I know, and I've been really on them too. I just found them. Anyway, move on.
I mean, shit, since we're talking about it, let's bring up the theme from Mannequin. Nothing's going to stop us now. That is a national treasure as well.
How about bring up the song Mannequin from Fame?
Done by Leroy, whatever his name was?
Yep.
Yeah, we're throwing that one back. I don't even remember which podcast that was on anymore, but yeah.
The thing is, we do the tangent so much, it could have been on any of them.
Yeah, we're cross-pollinating at this point.
I like that.
Steve, let's go to Masada for a second.
Oy.
Because we really haven't been there enough, right? What the hell? Let's go in, right?
Yes, please.
Let's go into the chamber where they're having this negotiation meeting, okay? Which really,
Exciting.
No, like I really like that they're trying to show you on the show that they're as bored as we are with this whole thing. And I loved it.
I'm hoping.
So Hitler's telling Jesus, he's like, deathbed conversions, you can't be serious. And Jesus is like, whoever believes is not condemned. Whoever doesn't believe is. Hitler's like, so by your logic, a person could start a world war or exterminate an entire people, etc., and still go to heaven if they repent at the last second. And Jesus confirms this, of course, and Hitler tells him that that's going to change. Otherwise, he's taking back the homosexuals. Boom. I don't know why I said boom. There's really no point from it, but I thought it was funny.
I thought it was a snooze fest.
I'm just saying, if I have to find some little light on that, I thought that was a funny line. But no, I'm just going to put it out there, Steve. Are we sick of Masada?
I was until something happened at Masada in this episode. And I was like, oh, snap! I did not know that was coming. So yes, I am bored with that little thing. But when someone makes an appearance later on in the episode, I was like so shocked.
Some great makeup too.
Oh, dude.
Things are getting heated, and of course, Jesus takes his ball and goes home. He's like, well, maybe then there doesn't need to be apocalypse after all. So these two are going back and forth and everything, and then Hairstar just finally intervenes.
Sorry, gentlemen, but we are having the apocalypse.
In fact, it's already underway.
Yeah? Phase 2?
Escalate. A spark to set the world on fire.
I love it.
Souls are coming. In numbers. In bulk. So, you need to decide which souls are going to heaven and which to hell.
Chop, chop then.
Back to work.
The All-Father has spoken.
I like that we know his motives. He doesn't want to do the apocalypse. But my thing is, then why did you go back?
Well, like he said in the last episode, they haven't asked him to do shit in 2 millennia.
I mean, yeah.
If you're appointed to a certain position, maybe you can comply once every 2,000 years. It's fair.
Yeah, I feel you. No, you're right. Okay, fair enough.
He's probably like, oh, I'm down with that. But this? Okay. So, yeah, but you can tell that Jesus does not want to do it. It's not very Jesus-like, Steve.
Yes.
We're cutting back to the Saint of Killers and Jesse again, and they're making their way across, I believe it's the Outback, and Jesse tries to tell the Saint of Killers that revenge won't bring him peace, and that he can be angry, call him a son of a bitch, but he can't kill him. And the Saint tells him, The 44 Walker is the most powerful handgun ever made, and mine can shoot through planets, because it can, Steve, as we recall.
We saw, yeah.
One of your favorite parts of the show.
Whew.
He says, I can kill him. Let's go. And Jesse tells him, eat shit. Santa Killers points his gun right at Jesse and he says, I said, let's go. Jesse says, and I said, eat shit.
Ugh, gosh.
I like it, man. I think he's playing the part correctly. That's just my opinion.
Right. Okay.
Agree to disagree. It's okay. That's what this show's about, right?
Yes.
Jesse tells him, like, he's trying to rationalize with him, right? And Jesse tells him that, hey, God took your family too. He took my mom and dad, and they were a lot better people than either you or me. And he also tells him that he and Tulip had a baby once, back in Dallas years ago. You did not watch the preview, and I'm not going to say anything to you too much, Steve, but I will say that they had something that happened on the preview for next episode where we kind of touch back in Dallas again. And there's someone from season 1 that made the slightest appearance that shows back up again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, do you recall the name? Don't worry, I really don't feel it's a spoiler because nothing really became of it to begin with, but do you recall Danny?
No.
Do you recall Tulip sitting on a park bench talking to someone named... This is like right when we saw Hairstar for the first time, and I don't even think Pip Torrance was hired yet. But it's when she's talking to Danny, this person on a park bench. Danny hands her this envelope. It's basically like to do a hit kind of thing. And then we see Hairstar sitting in a porn theater. It's like the very first time we see him. You don't recall any of this?
No.
You'll probably be reminded next episode that there is someone from season 1 that comes back, and I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Now, this is weird again because I feel like the Santa Killers is showing a little bit of compassion on his own. Or maybe it's just because he knows that he can't really kill him. Like he can act all badass and everything.
Yes,
and put his guns up.
it.
But he knows, in fact, that he cannot kill Jesse because he needs Jesse for this mission.
Exactly.
But it may have looked that way to Jesse, or maybe he's smarter than that. But, Santa Killers does lower his gun, and it does look like he kind of went, okay, well, you got a point. Jesse asks the Saint, he says, don't you want to know why all this shit in the world exists? Because I need to know what it all means. And then he gets really bold and he tells Saint he's not dead. So Santa Killers obviously needs him alive. In other words, you didn't kill me. There's a reason why you're putting your gun down right now. You obviously need me alive. And that means that I'm calling the shots. So why don't you holster your planet shooting guns and walk away? Leave God to me. But then the Saint nuts up, right? And he's like, you want to see what it means, preacher? He takes out his guns and he turns and he starts walking towards this house that's in the distance, right? I think the Saint is about to show him like, look, yeah, I can't kill you, but watch what I can do right now. I'm going to totally fuck with your head.
He's like, I don't care about anyone on this planet.
Including you. I just need you.
Including you. Exactly. He's like, but I am going to do what I want to do to you on other people. Yeah. So you understand. Okay?
Just know you brought this on, Custer.
Yes. And no take backsies. So Jesse's like, wait. He's like, nope.
It's like a really extreme version of like when your parents used to spank you and they'd be like, I didn't want to do this, but you made me do it.
Exactly. And but for Saint, he's like, I really wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Good thing there's a house in the distance.
How convenient.
Off yonder. Did he hang them?
He did. Yeah. Interesting, right? He's got planet shooting guns, but he decides to hang them. It's not really his style. Now, I've been watching a lot of Mindhunter, and it's a little weird when the serial killer does something a little bit different, throws the cops off.
I think the interesting thing with this is he only did it because we have to imagine. I mean, think how dope he has to be. Because off screen.
Yeah, let's get morbid.
Off screen, Jesse was fighting him to not do it.
Right. Pleading with him.
Within the fight, and Jesse jumping on his back, clawing at him, he was able to be like, I am still able to beat 3 people and hang them while you're trying to stop me.
While they're at the dinner table.
Because Jesse didn't just sit there. He used all of his Jesse fighting skills.
I would agree with you. Even though we didn't see it, I totally agree with you.
And Saint is like, yeah, I can still not only fend you off, but hang 3 people.
And it's not quicker than shooting somebody.
No.
I assume it was like a mother, father, and a child. And each of these had to have at least taken, because he's got to find the rope. He's got to string them up, create the noose. There's a lot of shit going on. So yeah, I'd imagine that really jacked with Jesse's brain a little bit.
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, I imagine him holding Jesse's head while he's flailing underneath in my brain like you do to a shorter person. And he's just like swinging. And with his other hand, he's hanging 3 people.
You brought this on yourself, preacher.
That's what I like. However, it doesn't affect Jesse in the way that I thought it should.
It's Jesse Custer.
Exactly.
He's kind of a sociopath to begin with.
Kind of, yes.
So let's cut back to Tulip and Cass, who are now speeding down the highway, and we hear this police dispatch telling an officer to sit tight. The Americans are going to arrive. This is kind of an insult to the Australian Police Department, because if you think about it, and I know I'm reading into this, of course, two people walk in, flash a wallet that has no ID, and say, we're the Americans. And they're like, oh, great, let's put you on this murder assignment, you know?
Totally.
I don't know. Silly stuff, but I get it. But yeah, so now they're just the Americans, and they're now they're like helping out the Australian police force. Zero credentials.
Of course.
On the other side of that transmission, we see this officer stumble out of the house and vomit. And I guess we already talked about this part, but we'll go ahead and go through it anyway. Tulip and Cass make their way inside, and they discover this family that we were just talking about, right? They're all hanging, and Cass tells Tulip, we got to go. And they speed off. And Tulip says, yeah, we just missed him, so he's got to be right up ahead. They come to this dead end, and there's nothing but wilderness ahead of them. And of course, it says the Outback flashes across the screen. Let's go a little bit further into the Outback, because now we're actually at the Lost Apostle National Park. And there's these two rangers that are, you know what? Again, let me know. Like, I have no idea of the landscape of Australia. I guess I could look it up, but I'm just too lazy to do so. Is the Lost Apostle National Park a true thing? Secondly, is it in the middle of the Outback?
Hell no.
Can you guarantee it doesn't exist?
We're about to look.
Because they had road signs to Masada, and Masada exists. Those are real road signs, by the way.
They're the Apostle Islands.
Okay. Clearly not the national park.
No.
Okay, fair enough. You know, I'll be honest with you. Kind of coasted through geography. Did not give a shit in high school. I came in stoned, everybody. Okay, all right, let's move along. I did. Pay attention to your kids' homework, ladies and gentlemen. It tells you a lot.
Oh, I believe it.
So anyway, we're at this fictitious Lost Apostle National Park, and there's two rangers that are chilling in their little station listening to the radio, and it reports that New Zealand is directly blaming Australia for the Prime Minister's death. And the rangers like, bloody Kiwis. And then we see this armored truck approaching very quickly, and one of the rangers is shot in the head, like bam, just quickly goes down. The truck breaks through the barricade and tears off. And I don't really know if it's truly a barricade. I'm just talking about that freaking automated arm that comes down that keeps you. You know what I mean? That thing. I'm calling it a barricade. And we see that this vehicle belongs to New Zealand, right? And it's hauling a huge nuclear bomb. Huge nuclear bomb, Steve. It's huge. Getting back to Jesse and Saint Killers, they're still walking. And Jesse's telling them that there's snakes out there that can make a man lay down and piss blood out of his ass with one bite. That sounds horrific, man.
That's unfortunate.
It really is unfortunate. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid outback snakes, apparently, ladies and gentlemen. If I could tell you one thing today, that's what I'm going to leave you with. More on these snakes, Steve. Jesse actually tells him that he's trying to find some of these snakes to give to the Saint Killers, so they can work on him. But apparently they're all scared of him. He says he can't really blame him, being that the Saint Killers is this murdering son of a bitch that he is. And he asks the Saint, he says, you got any water? Now, a little bit of advice, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to insult someone and tell them that you want snakes to bite them and make them piss out of their ass, you probably shouldn't ask them for a favor afterwards. But This is Jesse Custer, and he goes, you got any water? Maybe a smoke? He tells him, don't tell me you quit. What kind of cowboy are you? You loved this, didn't you? You loved every single line that was coming out of Jesse's.
I'm not going to. Here's the thing. I don't want to be too down, so I'm just letting it go.
No, I know. I'm just fucking with you because I know it's like nagging at you. Saint Killers does what Steve wants to do, and he picks him up by the collar, right? And he says, what's the point of being a dead demon if you can't even smoke? He grabs both of Saint Killer's pistols, turns them on him, and pulls the trigger. Dumb move, because we know that this shit is not going to work. Jesse had to find out the hard way. Neither of the guns fire, but luckily, the Saint doesn't want to kill him, so all he's really doing is just wasting his time.
That's it.
Saint Killer's just chilling, though. He's like, I like the snake idea better.
I love how he just said, now give me back my guns. After he bashed him in the head a few times.
Yep, exactly.
Like, thank you.
Jesse hands him the guns back, and he tells him, I'm not going to let you kill him. I'll die before I do. So they both really want the same thing. Who's going to get to it first? I think I know the answer, but this is the television version, so I guess we'll find out shortly. Now, here's the throwback, Steve. We cut to this diner, right, that's sitting in the middle of nowhere, and it's called the Flavor Station. This is a throwback, ladies and gentlemen, to season 1. They had a Flavor Station in Annville, and remember Emily? Remember she worked with Jesse at the church? Yeah, that's where she worked. I wonder whatever. Oh, yeah, I know what happened to her.
I know what happened to
I was going to say, I wonder, but we know she was... she was burned to death by methane gas explosion.
Affirmative.
Now we're with Tulip and Cass, and they're trying to hash out this plan, another plan to get Jesse. And they quickly discover by looking at this map that their means of transportation are limited due to the fact that there are very few roads in the outback. So Cass is suggesting to Tulip that maybe there's a clue in there. Maybe there's something that Jesse wrote to her, and it's going to tell them exactly what's going on, and it's going to be like what they need, right? But again, she says that maybe he's going to say that she's a dumb bitch, or she's a dumb bitch and Jesse forgives her. Anyway, they don't get to this letter just yet. But Cass keeps pressing her and saying, like, he's not going to read all the personal stuff. And he just wants to skim through it. This is bullshit, by the way. But he's just going to skim through it, you know? It's almost like just saying just the tip, if you get my point. And
Wow.
you know what? One word with you, wow, can just change the whole entire thing. I'm already crude enough. I know what I'm doing. You don't need to put the wow in, Hudson.
Okay, no wows.
This is a man that says skip you, though. I should probably just allot him his wow. It's amazing that you don't use profanity, and I commend you for it, sir.
Thank you.
So Cass is telling her, let me just skim through it. I won't read anything, you know, but I still think this is a bunch of bullshit. So she does this, though. She gives him the letter, and he starts reading through it. So when he's finished, he looks up, and he says, it won't help. So I think he read the whole thing is what happened.
And he's thinking about retracting it.
Yes.
When he says it won't help, he sees her reaction, and then he's like, you know what? No. And it's too late. He thought about retracting.
Yeah. Because he does go, actually, you know, and then she gets up, no, I don't want to know, and she leaves, right? So yeah, okay, 100% right, Hudson. Point Hudson.
And here's the dope thing about Cass. It probably didn't have anything to do with give her any clues, but he was like, I want you to read it, even if it costs me what you feel for me right now. I would rather you lose feeling for me than to be hurt the way you are at this moment. I'm like, oh, Cass.
Another good point, Steve, because he's on that good guy shit now.
Yep.
God, you're killing it, Hudson. You're killing it.
I'm trying.
Tulip gets up from the table. She wants to go out. She's all upset. She wants to go have a smoke. When she steps out into the sunlight from this diner, she hears that crazy jazz song that we heard in season 2 called A Walk to the Peak. Mm-hmm. It's really one of the shittiest jazz songs I've personally ever heard, but maybe that's ignorance coming from me. But God loves this song, and she starts following it. It's across the parking lot, and it's coming from this old RV. She follows the sound. She's passing through this littered, empty field, and she eventually arrives at the doorstep of this RV. She's like, hello? And then she does the thing that everyone in the movies do, Steve. She says hello one time. She says it again really quickly, but then she just walks in. Why do people do this in movies?
I don't know, because they like getting shot.
Right. Lock your doors, people. It's going to avoid a lot of murder, I think, in the future.
Then again, it is Australia, and I don't think their gun laws are different than ours. So not everyone is walking around with a freaking assault rifle.
No, what are you talking about? Americans got it together that way, dude.
Oh, that's true.
There's proof in the news. You're completely wrong. You're completely wrong.
No,
you know, I'm not even
right.
going to joke about that. The America's all fucked up that way. But anyway, I digress.
So yeah, I can see her going in because there's not psychos in every trailer with guns. So yeah, she just pushed her way in knowing she wouldn't get her head shot off.
But do you see my point, though? Like in movies, there's always the hello?
Of
they
course.
walk right the fuck into your house.
Of
Makes
course.
no sense.
Yes.
Let's go back to the flavor station for a second because we forgot about Cass, who's still sitting there after she bounced on him. And this waitress comes up. I think her name's Sheila. And she asks if he needs a refill. And this is where Cass gets to his finest Cass right here.
Another cuppa?
No, thanks. Christ, you people and your cuppers.
Get you anything else then, huh?
Do you know what? Actually, I'm a bit of a drug addict who's had nothing but cupper since I got to your no-road hellhole of a country, and I'm starting to feel a bit down. So unless you have a quantity of crack, crank, or skag handy, or maybe even some household just lying around like some disinfectant or some paint thinner, maybe a bit of descaler. You got any of that? No? Right, well, I think I just take the check. Thanks. Sheila.
There might be some fire retardant round back.
I did not know that fire retardant had anything that could get you fucked up in it, but
anything that says do not inhale can probably get you twisted.
So we're back with Tulip at this RV, and she's inside it again. Remember, lock your doors, ladies and gentlemen. This place is total, like it's a shithole. It's very unkept.
Wait a minute. Are you saying lock your doors unless someone like Tulip is going to walk in?
I guess if Tulip walked into my house, I probably wouldn't be trying to shoo her away. You got a point.
So yeah, lock your doors unless this happens.
Let's just say that 99.9% of the time. No. Let's just say 100% of the time. It's not going to be fucking Tulip walking into your house where you're like, oh,
just
well.
making sure. All right, cool.
And you're just sitting there. You got your shirt all down. You got your favorite shirt on. You know the shirt I'm talking about, Steve.
Of course.
You want to know what shirt I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, go to Heroes of Noise and listen to that because Steve's got a very low-cut V-neck t-shirt.
And like she'll do the come here, come hither finger thing, and I'll look behind me and then look forward and then point like me?
And then she just kind of nods like one time, like, yep.
Yeah.
And then shit is on. So she's walking through this RV. It's totally unkept. And we hear those sounds again, those guinea pigs maybe. I don't know if they're guinea pigs or not, but they're just weird animals that are, these little sounds they're making are like filling the room. And she actually looks into one of these cages. This tells me this is something weird because she like draws back very quickly. Either it's the smell or the sight. I'm not sure, but she goes, oh man. So she continues to look around and she stumbles upon God's dog suit. So now she knows she's hit the jackpot, right? And she also finds God's workstation again with all those models. So she goes and she takes a better look at that. And she sees all the model pieces lying around on the table that basically tell the story of Preacher. I mean, because we have the All Saints Church in Annville. We've got the nuclear bomb. So it's all the way to that. You know what I mean? And then we also see, I don't know if you caught this or not, we also see that there's a snow globe of the Alamo there.
Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen with that if we're actually going. Obviously, they're not going to Texas for this one, but I'm curious why the Alamo's there. Was that just a little Easter egg for us? Probably, but one never knows, because if you think about it, this magical car of tulips has now gone from America to the Middle East.
Very true.
And apparently they drove to Australia.
Totally true.
Wow. That's a fucking awesome car. 72 Chevelle does that, huh?
One thing I do like is the fact that, I don't like, kind of, because I was, you know what I was hoping they were going to do? I was hoping she was going to pick up the RV and she was going to be in there. Like a little tulip figurine was going to be in the RV.
Yeah, because it's kind of like a Clash of the Titans thing, like I'd said before. So, yeah. So, or if, like, she picked up the Jesse figure that we're about to talk about. I'll just tell you, she finds a Jesse figure that's, like, right next to God. So she's putting it all together. You're saying, like, if she picked up the Jesse figure, Jesse's just, like, levitating somewhere?
No, if she picked up the Jesse figure and she was like, okay, whatever. And then she picks up the RV.
And she's just hovering?
And she's in the RV, though. She's in the RV being like,
oh, you mean like a little figure of her inside the RV?
Yeah, and she's like, what the crap?
Gotcha.
Like, I'm supposed to even be here.
Right. Well, there's a reason for this that we'll talk about soon.
Yes.
But anyway, Snow Globe of the Alamo. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Maybe going to chalk it up to an Easter egg. So next to these little God and Jesse figures is this postcard from the Lost Apostle National Park. And she gets really excited about this. She goes, Cass! And she leaves to go find him. But not before we see God come peeping out from behind the corner there. Yep. I don't know why God's hiding. He's God.
That's true. He could just be invisible.
No. Actually, I take that back, because if he didn't hide, the rest of the story can't continue. The end can't. We can't have the end, is what I'm saying.
That's true.
So Tulip finds Cass sitting in the back of the flavor station, and he's higher than the balls on a giraffe. He's got that red shit all over his face from the fire retardant. And she tells him that Jesse's heading to the Lost Apostle and that she hopes there are roads. Now, of course, we find out where Cass gets this from, this fire retardant, because he says, we don't need no stinking roads.
Yep.
Back to the apocalypse negotiations again. And like I've already said, basically on the show and in the show, this has gone very stagnant. Jesus, Hairstar, and Hitler are basically just sitting around this table. They got the stairs. They've gone through all of their Lazarus coffee, snacks and coffee and whatnot. And then the phone rings. Star gets very excited about this, and he runs to it. He answers it, hangs up really quickly, and he says, gentlemen, I'm going to Australia. And then we get INXS's new sensation, which I liked it. I wished it would have been a little bit more montage-y. I'm not a big fan of montages, but I thought that would have been a good one. But nonetheless, we do see Star and Hoover 2 walking by the Lazarus's coffee place. I liked this scene, even though it was super short, Steve. So Star tells Hoover 2, he says, I have to warn you, Hoover 2, when I get back, I'll be quite attractive. And Hoover 2 tells him, looking forward to it, sir. And then the camera pans over to Lazarus's coffee, and we see this barista, this strange-looking barista.
Yeah,
not necessarily strange-looking, but a little bit out of place, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like a hippie dude or something like that. But a closer look tells us that it's not a hippie dude whatsoever, Steve. It's none other than Featherstone. She has infiltrated Masada once again.
Oh, yeah. And if anyone's going to know how to get in, it's going to be Featherstone.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. She probably knows some backdoor action, or maybe she paid somebody off. You never know. What'd you think of that makeup? I mean, it was pretty funny. I don't know if you saw the picture of her on Twitter, but it's pretty good. Like, it's really kind of hard to tell who she is.
The thing is, they had to do such a good job because they're like, we can't make her too unrecognizable. We just have to make her to the point that, oh, that's Featherstone, and I believe she fooled other people.
We're back with Jesse and Santa Killers again. And of course, they're still walking across his outback. And Jesse asks him if this is his thing, a cowboy without a horse. He tells him, it makes me miss the I run and you try to kill me days. And the Santa Killers assures him that those days are going to come again. Jesse does a quick look to the sky. Okay, now this is where it starts getting kind of crazy right here. So let's see what comes of this. So he's looking to the sky, right? And as he does, he sees this plane that passes over. We see the shadow of the plane passing over them. Now, if I'm in the middle of the outback, okay, I'm putting myself in his shoes. I'm in the middle of the outback. It's hot as fuck. Haven't had any water. Been getting my ass beat by the Seine. I've just witnessed 3 murders. The last thing that I'm going to think, Steve, is this one plane that's passing over is my ticket
real.
to freedom. You know what I mean? You just got to go.
Dude, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it really was. The one thing, I would have to say that was the most ridiculous thing of the entire episode, but I'm willing to forgive it for what comes next. So like I was saying, the saint tells him that those days are going to come again real soon. And Jesse tells him, they better, because this is getting boring. This plane is circling now overhead. And inside the plane, we see that it's Tulip and Cass. And Tulip can fly a plane too, apparently. And Cass asks her if she thinks Jess knows what is coming. I said Jess, but you know what I'm saying. She tells him he better, or else it's going to sting, and they have a nice little laugh. Now, in any other normal world, it would sting, because how the hell do you know what's coming, right?
Bingo.
We flash back to them, and Jesse's telling the saint that someday he's going to be real mad at him. And as he does so, he's like cleaning off his sunglasses, right? And I guess he's looking at them as the reflection is how I took this here. But as he's cleaning them, Santa Killers tells him, I'm already mad at you, preacher. And Jesse says, no, I mean someday you're going to be even more mad at me. And when that day comes and you got me in your sights, I want you to remember, without me, God gets away with it. And as he says this, perfect timing, by the way, he starts to run. The plane flies just a little bit overhead and drops fire retardant all over Santa Killers, blinding him for just a moment. Cass opens up the door, pulls Jesse safely into the plane, and the Santa Killers raises his guns and lets out a scream, but he doesn't fire. And again, we talked about this when they were in Melbourne last time. It's like, why didn't he just shoot through the building? You would ask that question. Well, now we know. He needs him alive.
But how fast do you think he has to run to go with a plane that's hovering?
You know, there's some mathematics involved with this, Steve, I think. And
you got to be dipping.
Yeah, this is one of those suspension of disbeliefs, man. And there's lots of them that we have to deal with on here. None of that really matters, Steve, because once we get inside the plane, Jesse tries to make a little bit of peace.
Hey.
What?
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Hey. Hey.
She said, hey.
Still mad at me, huh?
Yeah.
She didn't read the letter?
She'll come round.
We gotta make it stop.
No, we know. Listen to me. When we find God, you're making him explain the Big Lebowski, all right? No, I mean it. After all this, and I don't get an explanation for that, I'm gonna punch something.
So Tulip's trying to play hard to get right now. She wants Jesse to feel guilty, but you know she's all happy that he's back in the plane, this plane that they've just acquired, and the whole plane thing just blows my mind. But anyway, we're getting down to the end here. So we're now at the Lost Apostle site, right? And the Grail is readying this atomic bomb for detonation, and this hiker comes up, and he's like, "G'day, what are you doing, mates?" "Sorry, Australia, I suck at the accent." The Grail straight up tells him it's a plutonium fissile device, 25 kilotons. And the hiker's like, atomic bomb. What are you doing that for? And they tell him, we're from New Zealand. And the hiker kind of pauses for a second. He's like, no, you're not. And they reply, sure we are. Don't be a bloody dag, bro. Like totally not Australian. You know what I mean? But see, now they're using these terms that I want to know what they mean. So please, someone write in and tell me what a drongo is, because the hiker says, you take me for a drongo? I know a Kiwi when I see one. And you know, but before he gets the sentence out, bang, one of the Grail members shoots him dead, and they just go back to work like it's just a regular Tuesday or something like that. Now, God is also at the Lost Apostle. I guess he's like around the corner, and Hairstar runs up to him all happy. So he got there pretty goddamn quick. He got from the Middle East.
Yes.
At least he probably had a plan,
Yes.
because Grail has resources, right?
Totally.
You know, it makes more sense that he's there than they are. But he runs up to God, and he's happy as a puppy, and he gives him a status report. And he tells him that Phase 2 is in place, and it's awaiting his command. He also asked about Jesse, and God asks him if he's eager to get his revenge. And Hairstar is still wanting to carve that vagina in Jesse's head. But he's also stoked that God is going to reward him, of course. I think that's actually even more stoking him out, is that he is going to get back his natural beauty, as he puts it. But the excitement really does not last long.
How is the Christ child?
Good. Focused.
deep in rehearsal for the big show, and... You know I lost him, don't you? That's why you keep asking. It wasn't me. It was Custer. He's the one that broke him out. But don't worry, we'll find him.
I hope so. God, I love that kid.
Of course, we all do. What's not to... What's that?
That is Canis lupus dingo.
Dingo?
One of my hardier creations. He disables his prey by ripping out the trachea. And if the animal is too tall and he can't reach the throat,
don't ever cross me again.
Gee, when that thing started running, I was like, what the heck is that?
It was what do you call it? Dingus caninus?
Man.
Or something like that. I forgot to write down what they called that. Whew. Yeah. You know what? Dingoes are pretty freaking scary looking. I don't even know if that was a real dingo. I imagine it probably was, but those are some pretty vicious looking creatures. Kind of like a little werewolf.
I didn't know hyenas were so huge and vicious.
You've been studying hyenas lately, Hudson?
You know what? Get on with your dingo.
Oh, no, I wasn't mocking. I'm just curious. Are you checking out? Are you like looking it up?
What happened was I was watching, there were some African drug lords that have hyenas on leashes walking around.
Oh, snap.
And I was like, wow, that's a big thing. That is a massive beast. Like, pit bulls would have no shot at a hyena.
You know how badass you have to be to have a hyena on a leash? Fuck. I'd be like, I quit. What do you need? Here's all my money. Take whatever you have. Here's my family. Please don't sick hyena on me. Or dingo for that matter.
On a side note, that dude that was part of the Grail had really nice skin.
Are you talking about the two guys by the bomb?
Yeah.
And that's the guy that I was talking about that I saw in the background a couple episodes ago. And I said that he kind of had he kind of had a true Hoover look. Don't you think? Like
he could have been Hoover. He could have been Hoover. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and I love Malcolm Barrett, of course, but I mean, aesthetically, he actually looked more like Hoover than in the comic, I thought.
Yes, I agree.
But back to this damn dingo. I actually like that they're doing the running gag where Hairstar's losing limbs. Just one after the other now. Do you think that we're going to see this follow all the way through? Because we have 4 episodes left. Do you think that we'll find a way to get the cannibals?
No.
I totally think it's possible, dude.
If they do, we're going to be mad because they wasted time doing that.
Yeah, but that was kind of like one of my favorite parts of the whole Monument Valley thing where,
It was good. Oh, it was good.
It really was. But I think I would like to see it just for the fact of, I think this is going to be Star's thing. But it's going to have to be different now because if you recall, do you remember who rescues him from the cannibals?
Featherstone.
Exactly. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. Unless she does so she can take out revenge on her own.
That could happen.
Oh, they need to do this, Steve. They need to.
That would be awesome. But I have a feeling Featherstone will exact her revenge on Hairstar.
Oh, I see that coming without a doubt. Hey, speaking of Featherstone, I hope you guys liked that interview that we just put out. It did take a little while to come out, and I apologize about that, but we hope you enjoyed it. And again, thanks to Julie Ann Emery for coming on and chatting with us. We hope to do that again real soon on Heroes of Noise. So we're back to our trio, and they're in the plane. They're all made up now, and they see God, and God sees them at the same time. Jesse sees that Lost Apostle postcard that Tulip got from the trailer and asks where it came from. And Cassie's like, oh, they found it in God's trailer. This automatically cues Jesse and they're like, what? What are you talking about? And he asks how they did that. And Cass says, oh, we just got lucky. And then at that same time, they both very quickly realize that it's been a trap. The trap's been sprung, and they're right in the middle of it. And they try to get Tulip to turn around, but it's far too late. This shit was dope right here. So God does what I've been wanting him to do like the entire time he's been on. I don't care about this dog stuff. I don't care about him on the bike. I don't care about him with his little model that he has. God unleashes his wrath on them, and they get this huge mushroom cloud that totally disables the plane. All the controls, the plane starts falling apart, and Cass and Jesse are being thrown around in the back. Plane door suddenly opens, causing Jesse to fall out. And I got to give them points for this because it was almost shot for shot. A little bit of a different story, but shot for shot. It was dope as shit. Cass grabs onto Jesse before he can fall to the ground, and he's holding on for dear life. But his arm is in the direct sunlight, so it starts catching fire. And again, straight from the book, the same thing. I was happy about this. And I hope to see so much more of this as the show progresses, you know?
I was not ready. I wasn't ready.
Did you start getting all emotional? Is this where the feels kicked in, Steve?
Yes, dude.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I guess it really did me too. Gail and I were watching it, and she doesn't fully grasp what's going on because she hasn't read the comic. But I think that the scene was effective enough to where even if you haven't read the comic, you get that emotion from it. It's a big scene, you know?
Dude, when he was just like, remember, Cass has been calling him Padre. This time he's like, Jesse, don't do this. Because he knows what he's thinking.
Right.
He knows what he's thinking about doing. Because there's only one way that Cass is letting Jesse go. Only one way. And he's like, don't do this. And Jesse's like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, there was only a matter of time before Cass's arm was going to burn off, you know? Which poses a question. So last season, the very last scene, Hoover's standing out there and he has that stupid umbrella hat on. And Hairstar pulls it off. Hoover disintegrates within, what? Just a matter of a few seconds?
Yeah.
Makes me wonder, the older the vampire, the more strength they have? Or am I just reading too far into this?
Oh, dude, there's a massive hole in this story.
Go ahead.
That we haven't even talked about it.
I think we should. Shall we?
God, knowing everything, would have known that this plan is going to fail in killing everybody. So if he knew the future, he'd know that this is a bad plan.
You got a point.
He would have done another plan that would have killed everybody.
You got a point.
Or, so this plan did not work. So God should have known that. Also, why even do the whole, I'm going to cause an apocalyptic bomb instead of just snapping them out of existence, which God is able to do? Or why don't you just make them kill each other? Because you created them, you can decreate them. Why are you going through all these loops?
Television would be the answer for that, Steve. But they're all valid points, right? But it would shorten the story to,
that is so true. You're right.
Let's take it one step further. None of this really needed to happen.
No, he could have just not created Jesse, Cass, and Tulip.
Yeah, the first time that he saw that there was something not right, he could have just snapped his fingers like Thanos
Done.
And everything is done, right?
Game over.
Oh, well, but then we don't have much of a television show, so I think maybe we're being hard on the show.
Yes.
I totally agree with you, but I think that you and I are both being a little hard on it.
Oh, totally, we are. But I'm just like, yeah, if we start going down the loophole of holes in they were like, oh, no, we can't do that.
We're just taking it at face value, but don't think we didn't notice these things.
But dude, when Cass was saying, Jesse, don't do this, it was messing with me.
A moment of silence. Okay, I'm good. I'm over it now.
And then when go ahead, first, keep on going. Tell what happened.
We're almost there anyway. Yeah. So, Jesse's telling him to let him go and Cass is not going to do so. So, of course, Jesse does the thing that only he can do to make it happen. He uses the word and he's like, let me go. But before he said that, he tells Cass to make sure that Tulip reads that letter. After the word is used, obviously Cass lets him go and Jesse plummets to the earth. Before Tulip even knows what's going on, he plummets to the earth and she turns around and she sees Cass and he's just by himself and he's in tears. And God's watching this whole thing. We see Jesse falling to earth and the very last shot we see is one of the first shots that we actually saw in the season, which is Jesse lying face down, eyes open, and as dead gets. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of episode 6. Thank you very much.
Give a round of applause. Great episode. And my thing was, what I loved is, remember when Tulip, toward the beginning of the episode, she said, when Jesse's dead, I'll know. And you could tell she knew.
Yeah.
When she looked forward, she's like, he's dead. I feel it.
He also fell from a fucking plane. So, what?
Still, of all the things that Jesse has survived,
true,
a fall for the plane, I'll be like,
Yeah.
You could tell this amazing thing that just happened, it's over. She's like, yeah, this is it.
Unless he can bounce.
Unless he fell into some kind, or unless God saved him, unless something, but so many miraculous things have happened in this story, in this show, that if something miraculous happened, Tulip would have been like, oh, no, he made it somehow. This time he's like, no, he's gone. He is gone. And I'm very eager to see how they actually rectify this, because they can't do it like the comic because it's just too long.
But they could do an abridged version of it, and I hope they touch on it. I know we kind of talked about it just a tiny little bit, and I'm not going to say for the people that haven't read the comic, because if it happens, it's going to be kind of like, whoa, you know what I mean? But the eye patch is coming, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not spoiling anything. You've seen the eye patch at the end of the credits and all of that. I just hope that it goes down in at least that little scene that I'm talking about, how Jesse loses the eye, because it could totally happen. I mean, we have to find out, and we're going to find out. I'm assuming it's going to be this next episode. What happens next? Like does God approach him when he's down? What happens? But the scene in the comic that takes place is brutal, and I just really, really hope they give it some time.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I cannot wait, people. What a great episode this was.
Absolutely,
I loved it.
Man.
Cannot wait for the next one.
So let's take this on the whole of the entire series, okay?
Yeah.
1 through 4. Where do you rank this? Because now we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty of things. Like, just really quickly, I've really enjoyed the entire series, but there have been some moments that I could have done without, right? Quite a few of them, actually. But there have been a lot of good things, too. To me, this season truly feels comic-related. And I don't really care if it's not like accurate to the comic. It feels like you're watching a comic strip, the way that everything's playing out.
I agree.
Yeah. Especially now, especially the last few episodes. So, and more particularly this episode in general. So what do you think, man? What are you rating it?
I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 unread love letters.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. I'm going to agree with you on that. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 crunched off penises.
There it is. I mean, because I really, after this episode went off, in spite of all my annoyances with Jesse trying to be super tough with Santa killers, I was like, I want to watch the next episode now at this very freaking moment. And I can't. I got to wait till Sunday. But I cannot wait till Sunday. People, we're going to be right back at you next week with the man, the myth, the legend, Dan the Man.
Folks, it is time for us to go. You're getting 2 episodes this week, so I'm hoping that you're happy with that. We will be back next week. We have a lot to talk about. We are approaching the end. The apocalypse is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan Ramirez. For Steve Hudson, we are The Word, the Unofficial Preacher Podcast. Be good to yourselves. Be good to the people around you. And thanks for listening.